Hey guys, Dr. Brad here. I hope you're all doing well. In today's video, we're going to cover a topic that we've gone over before, but there's so much misinformation out there in regards to weight loss, and specifically weight loss when it comes to Hashimoto's, that I wanted to kind of attack this topic again and go over 3 of the biggest mistakes that I see people making, which is stopping or preventing them from losing weight. And as always, if you guys are new here and you like this kind of content, please remember to subscribe to the channel and also ring the bell. Post videos every single Thursday. And if you're returning, thanks for coming back, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. But let's jump right into things today with our first mistake, which is focusing too much on calories. Now, this is something that is nobody's fault. Whenever we're trying to lose weight, the first thing that we're told is we need to eat less and move more. That whole calories in versus calories out thing. And yes, there are certainly people out there who are eating too much, and calories do play a role in our ability to lose weight. However, in my experience, for a lot of you guys out there, you are on a super low calorie diet, and if you're not on one right now, you've probably tried one before. And you know, in my opinion, I think the science is pretty clear that there are hormonal and inflammatory effects that go along with what we're eating beyond just the calories. But if we needed any extra evidence to that, the fact that you guys are all doing these super low calorie diets and not seeing changes is evidence enough. And I think and I've said this before, I think if it was just simple math, if we just needed to calculate out how many calories we were eating and just increase our exercise to account for that, then you wouldn't be watching this video. We'd all be able to lose weight relatively easily if it was just a math equation. But again, we know that that's not the case because many of us have experimented with those types of things before. This seems to have gotten worse lately because not only are most of us being told by our doctors just to cut down on our caloric intake, but we also have people out there who are arguing that 1 calorie is exactly the same as another calorie no matter what it comes from. And that's where you're seeing some of these like all potato diets. I think I heard about an all croissant diet the other day. I don't know if that was a joke or if someone was actually trying to prove a point, but usually people are arguing that 100 calories from a Twinkie, sorry Twinkie, 100 calories from broccoli, 100 calories from steak are all the exact same thing, but that's not the case. These are going to have different responses in the body, and when it comes to Hashimoto's, it's super important that we're aware of the quality of our food and how our body is interacting with it. Additionally, this hyper focus on calories can go awry in other ways as well. And some people completely forget about the nutritional and dietary aspect of things and only focus on the burning side or the calories out part. And people usually go about this in a couple different ways. The first is by taking supplements or medications that have things like caffeine and stimulants in them to try to increase their overall metabolic activity, even if they're not doing something that is super active. We have to be careful here because, well, I was going to say because there are no free lunches, but that sounds a little silly to say that in this context, even for me. But you guys get what I mean. We can't take something and just expect it to kind of, turn on our metabolism and not have any side effects from that. So oftentimes when people take these supplements or medications, they'll have symptoms of their system being all ramped up. They may be more anxious, they could have more issues with sweating. A lot of people have problems with sleep. So just because some sort of product advertises itself as helping out with these things, we need to also make sure that we're focusing on our overall health. The other thing that people will do is they will dramatically increase their exercise to try to increase the amount of calories that they're burning. And many of you out there have spent 1, 2, or maybe 3 hours a day working out to try to make some progress in these areas. Well, if you've done that before, just like with the low calorie diets, you'll know that, yeah, it might move the number on the scale a little bit, but it never seems in proportion to the amount of effort that you're putting in. The reason for that is, again, going back to the quality of our diet. If we don't have a good quality diet, especially when it comes to autoimmunity and Hashimoto's, then there's going to be very little that we can do in terms of exercise to be able to overcome that. Now, that being said, we can't go completely in the opposite direction and say, well, Dr. Brad told me to only focus on nutrition, and therefore I don't need to worry about movement or exercise. That's not the case. I do think the human body was intended to move and be active, and I think we should intentionally engage in that on a daily basis. However, our focus should be supporting things like our neurological health, our gut health, and our immune health. That way we can create an environment around our thyroid gland so it can heal and thrive. We shouldn't be looking at activity and exercise as a way simply just to burn calories. So while we should be mindful of our calories, and there are some people out there eating just potatoes telling us all calories are the same, Hashimoto's is different, and calories is not the main thing that we should be focusing on. Instead, focus on a whole foods, nutrient-dense diet that works well with your body. And you'll know that it's working well when you eat those foods and you don't have any sort of negative reaction and you see improvements in your symptoms overall. And if you want some more information on the specific foods and nutritional plans that I recommend for Hashimoto's, I'll link for you in the cards above one of my videos on the topic. Speaking of the quality of our food, our second big mistake that I see people making is eating too many processed foods under the guise that these are actually health foods. Now, with all the different nutritional approaches out there, I think many of them have their own merits and their own pros and cons. But along with those merits come big food companies who are looking to try to make a buck off of these different nutritional approaches and their success. You like paleo? Sure, we can make a bar that fits that. You want to be vegan? Yeah, we'll make you a pastry that doesn't have any egg or milk in it. Or maybe you're following the keto diet? Yep, we can make cookies that taste awesome and they have low amounts of total carbohydrates. My point being is there's a lot of manipulation that goes on to try to fit these things into different boxes. That way we can kind of mentally justify having them even if they aren't technically healthy for us. Now, I'm not saying that these products are completely devoid of purpose. They are convenient and handy, and maybe we use them when we're traveling. Or if you're having a really big sugar craving or sweet craving, maybe they can fill that void for you. Did I say void already? No, I said devoid. But maybe they can fill that void for you, and it's a better option than maybe your standard product that you would pull off a grocery store shelf. However, they should be viewed as treats, not as staples of our diet. And again, we want to go back to the quality of our diet and how important it is when it comes to managing autoimmunity. So keep those things in mind, and as you work towards a more healthy weight, do it through whole food options rather than relying on many of these packaged items. Now, our third and final mistake is something that sounds relatively simple, but is actually a fairly complex topic and is super critical for you to understand if you're going to have success with Hashimoto's. And the mistake is you lack the necessary consistency to help you out with your weight loss. And the reason for that comes down to the concept of exposure versus amount. And let me explain what I mean by that. Because so many of us have been ingrained with mistake one, only focusing in on the calories, we tend to think about our foods in the amount that we're having and trying to not have too much. But when it comes to autoimmune reactivity, it's not the amount that's so important, it's the exposure and the way our immune system reacts to specific kinds of foods. Essentially, our immune system is always on the lookout for infections, and it wants to defend us from different types of bacteria and viruses that could do us harm. But in the case of autoimmunity, our immune system is hyperreactive, and therefore it responds to more things in our environment. This includes the food that we eat. And if our immune system sees something that it doesn't like, it's going to sound the alarm, recruit all the other immune cells that it needs to defend ourselves from this. And in that process, or in doing so, it's going to create a large and widespread inflammatory response. But you don't need to worry too much about exactly what the immune system is doing. Instead, you just need to understand that the response is often much greater than the stimulus that causes it. And I'm going to say that one more time because it's so important that we're on the same page with this, because many people have no concept of this principle. When we have autoimmunity, our immune system is more reactive than it should be, and small amounts of food or irritants can cause large responses from our immune system. When this happens, it is detrimental to our health overall and also detrimental to our ability to lose weight. So now that you understand that principle a little bit better, here's how I see it playing out in real life, and here's why the lack of consistency can prevent you from achieving your goals. Now, for people with Hashimoto's, many of you will already know that certain foods don't work well for you, and you will try to remedy that by removing them from your diet. Let's just take, for example, gluten, because that's a big one for a lot of you. If you try to remove gluten from your diet and you start to feel better, oftentimes there will be a point where some of that will start to creep back in. So at the beginning, maybe you were very good and avoiding it at all costs, but a month or two later, now you're having maybe cereal once a week, you're having a sandwich every now and again, and you're having some bread or toast with your dinner. So what was once not having any gluten, now you're having it 3, 4, 5 times per week. But the problem, or the thing that gets people into trouble, is they think, oh, I'm only having a small amount, and that shouldn't be anything that throws me off or causes me to gain weight because the calories are low, right? But because we're now having this at a frequency where our immune system is reacting and causing that inflammatory reaction, our body then has to process it every single time it's exposed. And it's this exposure concept that I'm harping on so much that is then preventing you from being able to move forward and actually see consistent weight loss. The point is that there's going to be certain foods that our immune system does not tolerate. And to achieve our goals, we have to be more consistent in our avoidance of those foods, even if it's only a small amount. So those are our 3 big mistakes that are stopping your weight loss for today, and they are focusing too much on calories, eating processed foods, thinking that they're health foods, and also lacking consistency with your nutritional choices. If you have any questions, leave them for me in the comments below, and if you're interested in working with me one-on-one, send me an email at contact@seattlethyroidhelp.com so we can get you scheduled for a free consultation. If you want to grab my free download, which is Electrolytes for Hashimoto's and Keto, it can be really helpful for people who are using a low-carb or ketogenic way of eating to help out with your thyroid symptoms. And the links for that are in the description box below. But that is all for today. Thanks you guys as always for being here, and thanks for all the love and support. It's been awesome lately being able to interact and chat with you a little bit in the comments and answer any of the questions that you've had. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, don't know what you're waiting for, but make sure to subscribe. And also come say hi on social media. I post stuff every single day on Instagram, and it is a great little community to continue to learn and grow. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Dr. Brad Bodle, and I'll see you guys next Thursday.